Well, I have a special treat for you. Two great classic rock albums are gonna duke it out over superiority on Kicking It Old School. How's it going, old schoolers? You are Kicking It Old School, and I'm your host, Russell J.S. The two classic albums I am talking about. Alright, the year was 1971. One band had a number one hit on the charts across the nation in 1967, and they kept on pumping up album after album until 1971, when their lead singer had legal issues going on because of a concert where he got too drunk and too profane, and allegedly, he exposed the fifth member of the band. And then you got a band from England who came from a group that Eric Clapton had first started in the 1960s and got replaced by Jeff Beck, who then Jimmy Page would join the band when one guy had already left, and then Beck would leave, and then Jimmy Page would go ahead and, get another bass player, a drummer, and a blonde, blue-eyed front man to go ahead and, continue on the band with have it as the new. But what happened was it wasn't working out when they were trying to gig. So what happened was Jimmy Page met up with Keith Moon and John Entwistle of The Who, and they suggested what he called the band and why, because they said the band was going to go up like a lead balloon. And the two albums that are gonna duke it out both came out in 1971. In this corner, we have the Doors L.A. Woman. And in the other corner, we have the Led Zeppelin IV, aka Untitled, and Zoso. Now, to me, in my opinion, both these albums are extraordinarily great. But I've gone by them so many times over track by track, and I'm going to go ahead and figure out which one of these is going to be better than the other. And remember, if you're new to the channel, please feel free to hit a like, subscribe, leave a comment in the box down below, and tell all your friends, about the old school stuff, and also ring the bell for notifications for another video. But without further ado, let's check these bad Oscars out, shall we? First one I want to go over is the Doors L.A. Woman. This is actually the first album that the Doors recorded without their regular record producer, Paul Rothchild. Now, according to this, it was produced by Bruce Botnick, who was their engineer at Elektra. And Bruce Botnick would go on over the years and produce, movie soundtracks and for other artists and everything like that, as the decades wore on. But what happened was Paul Rothchild decided to step from the producer's chair and tell the Doors that to make the ultimate good album that they want, they're going to have to do it on their own. And at that time, there was, like I said, the legal troubles in Miami where Jim Morrison supposedly exposed himself on stage, and he was really drunk, he got profane, and riots caused, and he was looking at prison time. And what happened was they went in the studio. I mean, they already had recorded Morrison Hotel, which is an awesome album. But when they went ahead into the studio, into their workshop, and they recorded this, and they got other session musicians, like they got Jerry Sheff, Elvis Presley's bass player, and Mark Benno on rhythm guitar, and I think, don't know who Mark Benno is, but he's courtesy of AMM Records, and it was recorded in their rehearsal space in Los Angeles. Now, the tracks that were, you look at these tracks, I mean, let's see how many tracks we have. On side one, you pretty much got 10 tracks off this album. And I'll tell you, I mean, they have the big hits that they had were "Love Her Madly," "L.A." the title track, "L.A. Woman," and "Riders on the Storm." But I'll tell you what, other than those tracks, my favorite was always "The Changeling" and the "Crawling King Snake," "The Wasp," "Texas Radio," and "The Big Beat," and "Been Down So Long." The thing is about this record, to me, is it is really a stripped down bluesy rock based album. I mean, at that time they, other than Morrison Hotel, which was the same, they came out with the album in '69 called The Soft Parade, which was more of a, at that time, a poppy kind of thing. I think they were trying to emulate Sgt. Pepper by bringing orchestras in and horn arrangements. Like if you hear songs like "Tell All the People" and of course "Touch Me," they were, I think they were experimenting, and I don't think it was really received well by critics or by fans alike. And at the time, the Doors were kind of fading out because they were looking for, everybody was looking for that whole new thing. But this album, this is actually also, the Doors had also put out 2 more albums after this, but subsequently this is the final album that they would do with Jim Morrison. After this album got finished, that was around that time when Jim Morrison flew out to Paris, and he wanted to get away from all his legal troubles. He figured that it would go away, and then he would come back and record with the Doors. And while he was in Paris, when the album was dropped, it was considered their big comeback album. Everybody loved it. I mean, it had real strong songs to it, like "Riders on the Storm." It was like the Doors, the way we remembered them. But sadly, on July 3rd, 1971, as this album had become big, Jim Morrison had passed away at the age of 27 with, due to, they say, a heart attack, they say a drug overdose. Nobody knows for sure. No autopsy was ever performed on Morrison. But what had happened was he was found in his bathtub by his longtime girlfriend, Pamela Corson. And, there's a big mystery surrounding it. But, this album to me was very strong. I mean, like I said, my favorite songs other than "Riders on the Storm," "Love Her Madly," and "L.A. Woman." I love "Been Down So Long," track number 3. And "Love Her Madly," which is also was one of their big hits off this LP. And "The Changeling." I mean, it had that kind of bluesy, jazzy kind of feel. I mean, music at that time in 1971 was changing. And what had happened was, sadly, Jim Morrison had passed away and things were uncertain for the Doors. Nobody knew what was going to be the next best thing. Are the Doors going to continue on? Are they going to break up? Or is Jim Morrison still alive? He's just faking his death to get away from the fame and get away from the pressures of Miami. We'll never know. But, this album right here, yeah. I mean, this is a kind of album where back when I had a cassette deck in my car, this was the album that I would love to listen to when on road trips. Like "L.A. Woman," if you ever saw that one video they made with John Doe from X, from the band X, where he's driving around in the Mustang through L.A. and he's a murderer. And "Riders on the Storm," that's kind of like that, you're driving at night, you're on a road trip, and you can hear the thunder clapping and just those jazzy keyboards and the bluesy guitar and Morrison just belting out his poetry. So, okay, here's the review on "L.A. Woman," one of my favorites. And the next one that's doing the battle is this is Led Zeppelin's 4th album. This is always known as either Untitled or Led Zeppelin IV or Led Zeppelin Zoso because the symbols that they were putting, let me go ahead and pull this out of the jacket. Those famous wizard, Celtic-like symbols that you saw like Jimmy Page and Robert, the band members, where they where each represented each band member. Like Zozo was Jimmy Page. This symbol right here was John Bonham. No, this was John Paul Jones, I think. This was John Bonham, and then this was Robert Plant. And this album right here alone, it's a really good album. I mean, it was one of their biggest albums. As a matter of fact, track number 4, Stairway to Heaven, became not only their biggest #1 hit right next to a Whole Lotta Love, but that became the most requested rock ballad or track, whatever you want to call it, ever in the history of rock and roll radio since 1971. As a matter of fact, just like the Doors or any classic rock, this album is still, it still soldiers on. I mean, you look at this, you got 8 songs right here of the track list. I mean, some of the songs, of course, you got Black Dog, Rock and Roll, and Stairway to Heaven were the biggest tracks of this song. But, other than these songs right here, my favorite of all, because they kind of get that, I don't know, kind of folky, Celtic-y like sound to it, is track number 3 is my favorite, The Battle of Evermore. I don't know, I mean, being Irish, I'm a big fan of Irish music too. And, you got a folky one with Going to California and, Misty Mountain Hop. That's Going to California. If I have to pick 4 songs that are my favorite off this record right here, would be When the Levee Breaks, Going to California, Misty Mountain Hop, and The Battle of Evermore. Now, if you remember in the movie when Spicoli was giving that one, I think it was Spicoli or that other dude, the one that was always scoring with the girls in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, he told that one guy, don't play side B of Led Zeppelin IV, and I guess he wasn't playing either side of Led Zeppelin IV. He had Kashmir going on the radio. But you know what? I actually do enjoy side B of this album more than I do side A. I mean, I think side A, the only song I really love is The Battle of Evermore, because you got Jimmy Page on acoustic guitar, John Paul Jones is playing the mandolin, and they're doing the real Irish. I mean, they must have brought in all kinds of different types of Celtic-y musicians into this, and they were experimenting. But the thing was with Led Zeppelin, I'm going to bring the Doors back up into this one again, was at that time, like I said before, everything in music, they were looking for a change. I mean, think about what happened after 69. After 1969, the Beatles broke up. In 1969, Brian Jones of the Rolling Stones had drowned in his swimming pool at the age of 27. In 1970, just a couple months apart, or I think a month apart, Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin had all passed away due to drugs, at the age of 27. And in 1971, at the age of 27, Jim Morrison passed away, which would make the whole almost right there. You had pretty much the initial, almost the whole 27 club. It consists nowadays of Robert Johnson, Brian Jones, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Jim Morrison, Kurt Cobain, and Amy Winehouse. Musicians who all died at the age of 27. And the thing is, both these albums are really good. I love both these albums. I mean, Stairway to Heaven, I have nothing against it, but like I said, it's the most requested song ever in the history of rock radio. And pretty much it's one of those songs I'm kind of burned out on. It's one of those songs where a certain group or a certain artist, they have a plethora of hits, but the radio goes ahead and plays that one. With Van Halen, most of the time all you hear is Jump, Running with the Devil, Right Now. I mean, it's, all these artists, they just have plethora of hits, but, they only play the certain few songs that were big. But now, I have to go ahead and I have to size both these records up. Let's see. The Doors L.A. Woman. It became the Doors' comeback album. And, you know, you had the hits like Love Her Madly, the title track L.A. Woman, and Riders on the Storm. But there was also some really good stuff on here, like, other than my favorite tracks, like The Changeling, Been Down So Long, Love Her Madly. Like I said, you know, The Wasp is one of my favorites, and so is Riders on the Storm. So that's about 5 songs that really make this album stand out to me. Now, as for Led Zeppelin IV, Side A, the main 3 songs, Rock and Roll, Black Dog, Stairway to Heaven, those are the main 3 songs on it. But, you know, like, I love Black Dog. I love Rock and Roll. Battle of Evermore is one of my favorites. Also, Misty Mountain Hop. And Misty Mountain Hop and When the Levee Breaks. Those are my top 5 favorites. So now I got 5 favorites off L.A. Woman, and I got 5 favorites off Led Zeppelin IV. Oh, boy. Okay. This is going to be a tough one. I can only pick which album I think is better than the other. So I think I'm going to have to settle this with a coin toss. All right. Now, I've just gone ahead and grabbed a quarter, and I'm going to do a coin toss over which is going to be the better album. And I'm sure, you know, whatever the coin lands on, you know, there's going to be fellow Doors fans that are going to hate on me. There's going to be fellow Led Zeppelin fans that are going to hate on me as well. Please don't be too harsh in the comments. You know, I'm going with my gut on this. I'm going to flip a coin. I'm going to flip a quarter. Heads, it's going to be L.A. Woman, and tails, it's going to be Led Zeppelin IV. And I'm going to let the quarter hit the ground. And let's see what it landed on. And looks to me it landed on tails. So in this match, Led Zeppelin IV, or Zozo, or Untitled, whatever you want to call it, it won this battle royale. I mean, like I said, it was a tie. It was a tie, and I had to go with my gut. And you know what? I mean, leave comments in the comments box below. Leave your comment. Which of those 2 albums do you think is the best? Because according to my coin toss, Led Zeppelin IV is a far superior album than the Doors' L.A. Woman. But I love both those albums. I love both bands equally. I mean, I'm a big Doors head and I'm a big Zeppelin head. But, you know, I had to go, because I had a hard time choosing, I had to go with the coin toss. So anyway, you know, if you're, once again, I want to say that if you're new to the channel, that's going to do it for this video. If you are new to the channel, please hit a like, hit a subscribe, leave a comment in the box down below, and also hit the bell for notifications for future videos to come. And also, I do the weekly narc, which I'm going to be putting up a video either later on tonight or probably sometime tomorrow, where I'm going to do a topic on narcissistic behavior and narcissistic abuse. Also, if you've been watching those videos, you know, also leave a like, comment, you know, in the box below on those videos, and ring the bell, because I'm doing both of them on this channel. And share these videos with your friends, and especially like the weekly narc. If you know somebody who you know for sure is in a narcissistic relationship, or is getting out of one, or about ready to go into one, please share the videos, because I'm trying to get awareness out on this sad state of affairs that is known as narcissism. Anyway, this is your old pal Russell JS. I want to wish you all Godspeed. May the force be with you, and may God be with you and your families. You know, take care of your families, take care of you, take care of all the ones you love. And Godspeed. May the force be with you always.